Now let's get to the Origin preview. Tedesco v Walsh. So we're basically going to go through positions, matchups, look at their stats. Stats aren't everything, guys, so we're not going to, hang everything on the stats. But just give a kind of a broad bird's eye view of how they're going this year and then match them up. Tedesco versus Walsh. Tedesco, 10 games, 3 tries, 4 try assists, 50 tackle breaks, 6 line breaks, averaging 170 metres. Walsh, 11 games, 4 tries, 13 try assists, 61 tackle breaks, 8 line breaks, 152 average metres. I guess you could argue that Roosters haven't been going as well this year, but I guess it's pretty clear, at least statistically, Walsh has probably been the best fullback in the comp this year so far, form-wise.
I know it's not fair to do so, but if you were to just take out the try assist though, considering how poor it feels like Tedesco's gone so far this year, pretty close outside of that, isn't it? I wouldn't have expected Teddy to be in the same realm as Walsh as far as tackle breaks, line breaks, all those sort of things. So I can't believe the amount of New South Wales people that are questioning Teddy's selection.
What? Is that actually a thing?
It's a small minority. It's a loud minority, to be fair, but I can't even fathom how you could possibly consider ever leaving Teddy out of a side or even questioning his spot in the side.
That's crazy talk.
If he'd come back from an injury last week, I would still pick Teddy without
100. He has been seriously one of the most consistent Origin players of all time.
Yes.
Of all time. He's up there with any player in regards to consistency outside of, obviously that Queensland great run, but that was, you're talking about like an anomaly. Yeah. Tell me a New South Welshman ever that's been as consistent as Teddy has been at Origin.
Me and Matty were talking on Friday. We were watching him just addressing the team and just how everyone felt silent as soon as Teddy started to talk, and we're just saying, geez, wasn't that long ago he was a flashy fullback out of the West Tigers who was injury prone, and now he's the Australian captain, the New South Wales captain. His journey has been incredible, Teddy.
Oh, it's been amazing, seriously amazing. Now, what I love about these two as a matchup is, does that surprise you at all, Timmy? The fact that Reece Walsh is
I actually thought the stats would be far more skewed towards Walsh. You look at all those numbers, the try assist is the one that stands out like dog's nuts. 4 try assists for Teddy, Walsh 13. Outside of that, with Teddy playing a game less, they're all pretty similar, and then you add in an extra 18 metres per game for Teddy. So Teddy having seemingly had a terrible year by his standards, and Walsh being, as you said, arguably the form fullback in the NRL, I thought there would have been a bigger difference in the stats.
Especially when you get, to me, I feel like Reece Walsh hasn't been out of position in 11 weeks. I feel like Teddy hasn't been in position for 10 weeks. So for it to be as close as it is, I'm surprised.
Shows you how good Teddy is.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the
people
point.
are calling for his head, and his stats aren't that much worse. Obviously, the try assist one is something that stands out quite a bit, but they're not that much worse than the guy that everyone is just raving over.
Yeah.
Now, what is most interesting about this matchup is they couldn't be more different as players. They couldn't be more different. You'd say Tedesco, more about the contact, getting, hit-ups, a lot of meters, whereas obviously Walsh, even though he has a lot of tackle breaks, it's usually because of footwork and speed rather than physicality and strength. Where do you think the game is, I guess, going to be won for Tedesco and Walsh?
Well, I think Teddy, just the work he does through the middle, it's just about unmatched in rugby league, and it might not always be reflected in stats and whatnot, but what Teddy brings to a footy side is just an incredible player. Reece Walsh, though, I'm so interested to see how he goes in the Origin arena. I know that when he was at the Warriors, a lot of people went after him, a lot of people bagged him. I think you and me especially have always been so high on Reece Walsh. The thing I've always loved about him is that he could make 10 mistakes. He's not afraid to make the 11th. He just goes after the game. And I think that's the mindset you need in the Origin arena. You even have a look over the last few weeks in the games they've lost. There was, he tried to do a one-on-one strip a couple of weeks ago. They got penalised. But his mindset isn't, get down there, lead the kick chase, make this tackle. It's, how can I win this game of football now?
Yeah.
There was a couple of weeks later where, he'd made a tackle that was over the try line. I've never seen anyone else do it. He dragged the player into the in goals to make it look like he was in the process of scoring to try and get the ball out. Penalty, once again, didn't go his way. But I love that mindset that Reece Walsh has. There was a game, I think it was actually against the Broncos last year, Kempy, where the Warriors, really close game. He had about 4 shots a field goal. He missed all of them.
Yeah.
Wasn't hitting them well. But when someone needed to take a fifth shot at field goal, Reece Walsh went, I want it to be me. I want the ball in my hands.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about him. He's going to make his mistakes. I have no doubt he's going to make mistakes on Wednesday night, but he's never going to stop coming at you. I'm so excited to see how he goes.
Yeah, it's such a interesting situation with Walsh because if there's one arena where one mistake can literally cost you the game, it's Origin arena. And I wonder what Billy Slater is saying to him to try to balance out that crazy just attack. Because if there's one fullback that can relate to Walsh, it's Billy Slater. Like, that's what he was. Attack. Never just dive on a ball. Always sprint full speed, try to pick it up and break the line. So it is. I will say, if the Queensland forwards can dominate and give like good field position, quick play the balls, I think he's going to cause havoc on your edges.
That's what really worries me. Mate, when we saw Payne Haas go down the other night, I just had flashes to Reece Walsh just getting on the front foot and just cutting us to pieces straight away. If your pack, which I personally think form-wise, your pack's going better than ours is at the moment, like guys you're leaving out like Corey Horsburgh and them, I really do. Jesus. I think it could take Reece Walsh a long way. Timmy? Something.
Yeah. Queensland, who I despise with all my life when it comes to State of Origin time, like all passionate Blues supporters, they've always had this number one spot that ties in three of my favourite players of all time to watch, and it's KP, Reece Walsh, Billy Slater, and I can't not like them. I love them so much at club level. The brand of footy they play, it's a combination. Like, everyone loves a player with speed because they're exciting to watch. For me, it's cool. Like, there's a lot of fast players in their game, whatever. But when it's the combination of having that speed and being able to ball play at an elite level at that pace, that's where I just sit back and go, I love watching that footy. That's as good as it gets for me, and that's what Reece Walsh has. So between him, KP, and Billy Slater over the years, it's hard to get into this arena and like wanting so desperately for Reece Walsh to go well at the top tier of our game and hopefully in future for Australia, but wanting him to go so bad as a Blues supporter.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's the question mark, isn't it? What Reece Walsh could single-handedly win you this game or, you know, looking very glass half empty, he could lose you this game because he's going into an arena that we haven't seen him in. So how's he going to perform? I'm with you, boys. He'll be fine. He's a star, but even every star in their first few games on the big stage, it can take time. You know, it's a big arena. How will he handle the hype? It's exciting. It's very exciting.
But at the same time, he also is the same sort of kid that we could be sitting here. I could be sitting there at 10 p.m. Wednesday night going, fuck, another one that's just made for Origin.
Yeah, those big moments, big plays. You know, like someone Cobo just comes in and has that, you know, outside of that play, some good runs, handle the physicality of it. But just that one play where he dummies, then drops the ball to his foot, grubbers inside, on debut, like that's a big moment.
There's some guys that get picked for Origin sometimes, and I think, geez, is the stage going to be too big for them? As much as Walsh might make mistakes, I don't think the stage will be too big for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to attack the game again. The glass half empty look is just that error. But I tell you what, if he finds that perfect balance between, you know, attack, Origin is a game where if you've got players that can create space and break tackles or even create moments that don't exist, like that's game changer stuff. That's it's so hard to find in Origin because there is no space for anything.
Yeah.
And Reece is the guy that, at least at club land, we don't know at NRL land, he creates space.
And what excites me and terrifies me as New South Welshman regarding Walsh is we know the style of football that Billy Slater was, and he won't want to put any doubts in Reece Walsh's mind. Like we see him probably at times attack a little bit too much at club level, and it can lead to errors. And you think, maybe he goes and says, mate, still attack, but just, you know, maybe rein in a little bit. Billy Slater's not going to say that. Billy Slater's going, mate, go all in. You see an opportunity, you take it. Because that's what Billy would have done. That's what Reece Walsh is going to do, and we'll see how it pays off.
And that's what scares me about Reece Walsh getting selected is that Billy had the option to play it safe and go with KP. Billy had the option to pick a guy that, one, he knows he can get the best out of. Two, he's played Origin football with, and he's decided to go down the Reece Walsh avenue. Billy Slater, who's forgotten more about Origin than I know, must be confident in this kid to do a job.
Man, it's so interesting because then you go, on the flip side, Tedesco is a guy that's going to take hit-ups off the ruck. He's going to be constantly around the ruck, sneaking, sneakily, I guess. He's so good at guarding where he is, so you don't actually know where he's going to pop up. When you're a defensive side looking at the ruck, sometimes fullbacks make it super obvious as to where they are, where they plan to be. Whereas Tedesco is so erratic and his footwork is so good that his first 10 meters, his top speed is not that impressive, but his first 10 meters or even first 5 meters is electric. And so that's where, when you look at your forward pack, Payne has an offload. Fifita Pangai Jr. definitely has an offload. Paolo definitely has an offload. You start to go, maybe there is a game plan being created around the ruck with Tedesco just off the back of those boys just constantly and then just on front foot footy. And so that's where you see Tedesco. He's still got the silkiness of ball playing. I would argue Walsh is a silkier ball player, but around the ruck in regards to work rate, I say Tedesco's got the win there.
And that will be the game plan, mate. It'll be 2021. Obviously now with Latrell out, it takes away from it a little bit, but it'll be having Tommy as that second roaming fullback and James Tedesco and all these lightning quick players around. Even Damien Cook back in 2021 where we saw the offload and he'd get and just take off. It'll be looking for that second phase play and Teddy be ready to go when it does.
Where do you see Teddy? I mean, the obvious answer, we've seen it so much. Where do you see Teddy injecting himself and how?
Yeah, I think through the middle. Like when we were watching them train the other day, Tedesco is just everywhere on every single play. Wherever the ball is, he is next to it. He must be such a fit human being. It's just insane.
Especially for the muscle mass he carries. He's pretty big.
His torso is huge. His core must be off the charts.
It's like similar with Minicello, like they were gymnasts.
Yeah.
And so they just had this crazy pound for pound strength. Tedesco's literally right up there.
I think, the obvious one with Teddy though is that, no matter what big stage it is in rugby league, experience always matters. And no one's got more of it than Teddy.
It's going to be, cannot wait for this matchup. Cannot wait. Teddy versus Walsh. Game 1. Adelaide. Now, onto the wingers. Any more to add on the fullbacks there, boys? No. Onto the wingers. You've got Cobo and Addo-Carr versus Cobo and Tuolangi. So, Cobo will be on the left against Carr?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go Cobo versus Carr. Addo-Carr, 7 games, 6 tries, 0 try assists, 23 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks, 85% tackles efficiency, 116 average metres.
Sorry, I think Cobo will be on the right, actually.
I've got Cobo right.
Yeah, I think he'll be on the right.
Cobo right and Toto left.
Okay,
Yep.
So we'll do Addo-Carr versus Tuolangi. So Tuolangi, 10 games, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 16 tackle breaks, 9 line breaks, 72% tackle efficiency, 141 metres. I've got to say, I actually thought Tuolangi has played less games than that. And that's no disrespect to Tuolangi. I actually think he's been quiet this year. Addo-Carr, we all know what he can do at the origin level. How do you see this battle playing out?
Yeah, I think with Murray, first of all, I'm the same. I didn't expect him to play 10 games. I think he has been quiet. But I also think, when you're not a winger like Brian Toto that's known for running for 220 metres, and he's not that sort of a winger, and that's okay. When your team's going as poorly and they're as dysfunctional as the Cowboys, I don't know, it can be hard to judge. And to be honest with you, I probably haven't watched him as intently as Billy Slater has to know where his form is at exactly, just because the Cowboys have been going so poorly. But we'll get to the centre soon. I still would have picked Dangago. I didn't have Murray Tuolangi in my side.
It's a huge opportunity for him to be one of those typical Queensland selections where a lot of people would have said, he's a bit too quiet to be in there, and then he goes to Origin and he absolutely kills it. Because it feels like forever ago, but he was in the World Cup squad. That's how good he was last year. And his finishing ability, we talk about Reece Walsh and they're creating space and there's no space in Origin. Finishing-wise, he's one of the best finishers in the game, if not arguably the best finisher in the game. You go back and watch Tuolangi's highlights, some of his finishes are out of this world. And maybe Billy Slater is going the route of, I just need, you're big enough to do the big carries, but also that just someone can almost guarantee a finish if there's a millimetre of space there. And so maybe that's what he's looking at with Tuolangi. Jimmy?
Yeah, I've actually got no reservations around Tuolangi being there. I think it's fine. And the reality is that the Cowboys have been terrible for the majority of this year. And when you're on a winger in a side that is struggling to go forward and getting beaten through the middle, there's not much you can do. You can't really have an impact on that game. You don't get put in try-scoring situations, and he hasn't. All right, sure, he could have been a bit better this year, but he's coming off a World Cup win on the wing for the Kangaroos. He'll slot into a Queensland team that will go forward. He'll get his opportunities. It'll be half a sniff, and I think there aren't too many better players that you'd give to finish off there. Statistically speaking, I think the thing that stands out for me most is that despite playing a pretty ordinary Cowboys side this year, he's averaging 141 metres. It's pretty solid.
And 9 line breaks.
And 9 line breaks. So, yeah, not getting the tries, not the best stats, but I think he'll come into a gun Queensland side and he'll be fine, and I don't think there's any query around that for me.
And in his defence as well, I think it's something we've spoken about all year, that we hate the way the Cowboys are using the left edge. Val Holmes constantly being used, running that over. Like it hasn't made sense to me all year anyway.
Val runs that hard line, and even when they do hit Val, he's just running this rock hard line where he's not really looking to catch and tip on and beat him. He just runs hard.
Yeah.
So Tuolangi said the opportunities haven't been there.
And so Holmes has been moved to the other side though, which is really, really interesting why you wouldn't keep Holmes and Tuolangi together. But we'll get to that. Now on to the Fox. I mean, what else is there to say? Like, just like Tedesco, he has been super consistent at Origin level. We were shocked when he wasn't in the side last year. And the Fox with a point to prove is a scary winger. One of the best wingers in the history of game, in my opinion.
The energy he was bringing to training the other day. I've never spent any time with Fox, but you always hear about how loud he is and everything he is. He did not shut up in the most positive way possible. I mean, I could not believe the energy he had throughout the entire session. It was like the energy he had about the most minor things that were happening, and you can tell it's infectious.
Yeah,
other guys were just getting around him so much. It was unreal. He was having banter with them the entire time, and Freddie would say, "Go to this corner," and he'd run there screaming. And it just turns the entire tone of what's going on, And I was looking at them, and the Panthers boys, like, they enjoy themselves and everything, but they don't bring what Fox has, and we would have missed it so much last year. I think I'd love to talk to the people in the camp and get their impression of, and that's what we see out in the field when there's a crowd there. Imagine what he's like around the hotel room, or all that sort of stuff. I love everything about Fox. I could understand Freddie not picking him last year. I got it wrong 100%. And I'm glad he's back in there.
Yeah, it's that you cannot express how important that intangible off-field quality that a guy like Fox brings, like the confidence, the energy heading into a game. I've spoken to, I guess, some people from the Origin camp last year. They did feel it was a bit subdued, a bit not as, I guess, energetic as the 2021 one, which is, it's easy to say now, look back on hindsight and be like, oh, here's a problem. Like, I think even though I personally would have chosen Fox, any reasonable person could understand why Freddie made the decision to go other players. Even if you disagree with it, you could be like, look, I get it, big body, a lot of meters, all that kind of stuff.
It's much like Fox to the Blues, Guru to this panel. He might have shit takes. He might know a lot about footy. But he's a good bloke. He brings energy to the bar. He brings energy to the show, and
lightning
it's intangible. And lightning quick. And,
intangible.
It's more than you see on face value.
You are the Fox of the panel.
We wouldn't be what we are, Kempy, without Guru's energy.
No, I'm well aware, don't worry. What I did notice the other day, though, at Blues training was as soon as Payne Haas went down, Matty, did you notice it? Josh Addo-Carr almost took it upon himself to get louder and to be bouncing around more, because you could tell there was a moment like, oh, shit. Have we just lost our best front row forward? And he went to another level again. It's like he could sense what was happening in the room and knew that he could turn the gear up.
Yeah, it's so important. And we don't need to speak about, like, look how well he played for Australia.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable for Australia. And again, I feel like it's going to be the theme of the bloody show, but Origin is about these small spaces that don't usually exist. Like, big spacing exists in NRL games because the standard isn't high. Origin is all about the little moments, just the tiny moments adding up to big moments. And Fox takes those little moments and then turns them into big ones. So I can't wait to see
Well, when we sat here last week, the teams had just come out, and I was a little bit... I think I was just disappointed for Campbell Graham that he didn't get picked in the starting side. And I can't remember, but I think I sort of leaned towards saying, I think Campbell Graham probably should have got that wing spot. The more I've looked into it, I'm more than happy Josh Addo-Carr's there. And I think we'll get into the game plans and strategizing that more and more, but I just think the Blues are going to try and emulate that 2021. I think they'll try and emulate the Manly Seagulls style attack where they play expansively, they give early ball, early spreads out of their own half, and that's where Fox's speed comes in. As you said, Kempy, give him an inch and he's gone and away and probably scores.
Yeah.
And I think that will be a lot of our game plan, and that's where you have Fox over Campbell Graham. So I'm really happy with the Addo-Carr selection now, and I'm stoked that he's there.
To'o versus Cobo. To'o, 11 games, 5 tries, 1 try assist, 38 tackle breaks, 7 line breaks, tackle efficiency, 86%, averaging 203 metres. Insane. Cobo, 12 games, 9 tries, 0 try assists, 53 tackle breaks, 7 line breaks, 87% tackles, and 163 average metres. I mean, those stats from Cobo are pretty bloody amazing.
They're very impressive, aren't they?
To think that he has 53 tackle breaks compared to 38 of a To'o is pretty incredible. 9 tries compared to 5. I guess the argument, they've got equal line breaks. Obviously, To'o beats him in metres gained. The argument could be, if you checked Cobo's error rate, it would probably be substantially more than To'o, but can you please check that for me, Matty? But I love the fact that we're going into a game with To'o, best ring in the comp probably right now.
Yep.
And yet, from a Queensland perspective, I think Cobo's ceiling is probably higher.
Yeah, you said before if you were to do an error count, Brian To'o would win that. But if there was a stat for just
Something
doing
happening.
shit that you can't coach, Cobo win. As I said, we're up at Magic Ground the other day, and he took an intercept that I'm not sure if anyone else in the comp would have taken that intercept.
Crazy.
It was going into the crowd. He managed to run it down in the air, get it, and then take it the distance.
Crazy.
So Cobo's got the most errors in the NRL with 22, and To'o's on 9.
Yeah. So that is the risk you play. That's the gamble.
And then Walsh is like second or third, isn't he, Matty?
Walsh is equal third, yeah.
So that's the scary bit, is errors can absolutely kill you in Origin, but also you can have these crazy moments, and it's just it's why the Broncos, when they click into gear, they're the most exciting team ever to watch, because they just go crazy and you're going, what? This is so unorthodox.
Yeah, and you talk about those moments. I mean, but where we were sitting for game 1 last year, watching Selwyn go down the sideline and drop it on his toe, at full pace with the size he is, to put in a little deft kick like that. He couldn't have, if he had another million shots of that, he couldn't have got it more right than what he did in that moment. That's what Origin's about, getting it right in that moment.
Yep. But in regards to game plan, I actually think they'll probably play a similar role. I think Cobo will be relied on to take a lot of the tough carries for the back three, because he's the big boy in the back three. Well, Tuolangi is big too, but I think Cobo's probably, they're going to need him.
He's the yardage man.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be what To'o is to New South Wales.
You're not going to kick to either of these two.
No.
And also that's where having between Tuolangi and Walsh, a bit smaller in the back three, it's where Val will come in as well. He'll run for 200 metres and be so big for yardage.
Yeah, absolutely. Now on to the centres. Crichton and Turbo versus Val and Hamiso. So it'll essentially be Crichton up against Val, we think, because now that may change because Latrell is no longer there. So maybe they go, let's put Hamiso on Critter and let's put Holmes, because my thinking is they moved Holmes to do a job on Trell, to try to do a job on Trell.
I reckon you're right, because I was surprised when you boys said that they were actually on opposite edges, but a big part of that must have been the Trell matchup.
And, well, it could be the opposite though, because Hamiso did do a job on Tommy Travojevic in his debut, so maybe that's why he got moved, because Hamiso to mark Tommy.
Do you think Slater's picking his teams based on the New South Wales side though? I'm not sure if he would be.
I think it would have some say.
Yeah?
I think it would have some say, especially with those two players, Trell and Tommy. They're too good to ignore and just go, no, we're just worried about our game.
That Trell, I mean, it's redundant now while he's not playing, but the Trell on Hamiso, I know he did a job on Turbo, but that was like the matchup to target for the New South Wales Blues. So I could see why they flipped that around.
But and I know it's not going to happen now either, but I think at the same time, it would have. I think Queensland would have been excited for that matchup. Getting it, the way that Latrell moves laterally, to have Reece Walsh and to have Hamiso coming down the edge, if you put him in the right spots, That was a spot that I was worried about.
Yeah.
And I thought it had more to do with putting Hamiso on Latrell for his sheer pace to try and beat them that way.
But they ended up there, so they put Holmes on Latrell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they make that move and they pull Holmes across to Tommy and they put Hamiso on Critter.
Because as much as you're screwing up how you've been training, you're putting guys on there better. Like you're putting Val on his edge.
On his edge, yeah. Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see how they run out. Really interesting. Okay, so as for now, we'll say Critter versus Val. Critter, 11 games, 6 tries, 3 try assists, 35 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks, 89% tackle efficiency, 121 metres. Val, 12 games, 3 tries, 3 try assists, 53 tackle breaks, 6 line breaks, 77% tackle efficiency, 170 average metres. Look, I think that Critter's defence is outstanding at 89% for a centre. But you'd have to say Val in a team that's going that poorly is probably, I guess, he can step up even more when he gets around a good team. So you may see an even bigger jump. I mean, we saw it like we saw him when he played last year, and then whenever he does play Origin. But this is a matchup that went from, oh my God, Latrell Mitchell to, oh my God, there's a chance now. Critter could win the battle. But there's a chance that Val may win the battle.
Isn't it amazing? Like we've got 4 centres there in Origin. If you include Latrell, who was the 5th, none of them are being picked in the position they play at Clubland or on the side they play in Clubland. Like even the centres are getting picked on the opposite side to what they usually play.
Yeah. That's weird. That is weird. How do you see this battle playing out, Critter versus Val?
I find Critter so hard to analyse what he's doing. And, you know, as you said, his last 4 weeks have been amazing. Defensively before that, he was in a little bit of trouble. I don't know which to focus too heavily on. Do you think that Freddie's had a conversation with him in the last 4 weeks?
Yeah,
Because it
sure.
seems like a sudden thing that all of a sudden just changed.
His aggression went through the roof.
Yeah, straight away.
Line speed, shooting out, whacking blokes.
He's stopped intercepting. I haven't seen him go for an intercept for a while.
Yeah, no, completely agree. It's a matchup I'm looking forward to. I'd be playing Val on the left. I really would. I don't really get swapping them over. Doesn't make a heap of sense to me.
As in, you'd be playing him on Tommy.
Yeah, I'd be playing him at left centre where he plays.
Even though Hamiso did a good job on Tommy when he played in 2021 game 3.
Yeah, no, there's that argument there. I just wouldn't be moving Val out. Like instead of playing one guy out of position, you're playing 2 guys out of positions now.
Could he be playing out of position for club? Is there
thought about it from that angle? Yeah, maybe.
And maybe this is actually his preferred side. So he's been moved to the left side, correct?
Yep.
So maybe he's actually a left-hand carry, right-hand fan, maybe.
Maybe.
Or defensively, maybe he's a right shoulder is stronger, and he'd rather defend.
Which edge was Val on when he won the comp for the Sharkies? Was he left or right? Was he right outside?
I think he was
third?
right. I think he was right. And was he a wing? I think he was a wing. Yeah, I think he was right.
Barber was at fullback. Yeah.
Do you remember who the other winger was?
Fecky?
Jared Beale.
Fecky.
Oh, Bill come off the bench.
He did come off the bench that night, Bill. Yeah.
I can't wait for this matchup. Critter versus Val. Wow. Dally M centers versus each other. That's exciting.
I think both teams are going to really fancy their opportunities here. Val is, I think, the best, well, without doubt, the best defensive centre of those 4. But as it stands, he's also on the right edge of DC, Tommy Gilbert and Cobo, where I think the Blues will fancy themselves. So they'll be going at him. You look at Tommy Turbo, completely playing out of position. Was caught out a few times in the past, playing centre at Origin level. Hamiso's playing out of position. Very few footy, a little bit of footy at centre, but he's still out of position.
Yeah.
Critter, who we spoke about his defence at times. I think both sides will look at opportunities here and be throwing a lot of footy at these guys, getting them to make decisions.
I reckon like New South Wales will probably be a little bit more confident because the form of Critter coming into this defensively has been outstanding, whereas Val Holmes' defence in his last game was like, really, really not great.
Val's D this season actually hasn't been that good by his standards, but you just know getting to Origin, Val will be 100%.
That's sweet. Mate, cannot wait for this battle. Now, the next battle. Turbo, 10 games, 8 tries. I mean, the fact that he has 8 tries, and we've been saying he's had not a terrible season, but a very quiet season for his standard. 8 tries, 7 tries, 37 tackles, 7 line breaks, 73% tackle efficiency, 191 metres. That is him on a one leg.
And, if someone said to you he's been terrible, it's probably not a hill I would die on to say don't call him terrible. By his standards. By his standards.
By a normal fullback standards, he's been solid.
These numbers are wild.
To be fair, 3 tries, 4 try assists, 34 tackle breaks, and 6 line breaks against the Raiders last week. So it's skewed a little bit.
But it's still incredible. And that's what some people try to send, didn't try, they did send through. So they're like, well, statistically, he's actually doing better than X years. And this is such a perfect example of stats aren't the be all and end all. Because anyone that watched Turbo play can show that he's not at 100%. Obviously, against the Raiders, he was playing at 100%. He was unbelievable. But that's scary to think. If he is clicking into gear now, and that's what he's done with one leg, what is he going to do with 2 legs?
Well, that was me and Matty were talking the other day, watching him train and the way he was getting around, and we were just saying, if you had no idea what had happened in the last 2 months, you would think it was 2021 Turbo what was standing in front of us.
Yeah, wow. Fuck.
It's the one, I'm just so glad we've got him.
Seriously, unbelievable. All right, Hamiso. Now, these are fullback stats, and so is Tommy, so I guess it's an even comparison. 11 games, 10 tries, 3 try assists, 42 tackle breaks, 5 line breaks, 87% tackle efficiency, 142 metres. Now, obviously, Tommy has proven himself at Origin, and he's a special, special player, and you'd favour Tommy in this battle. But Hamiso has that magic about him. He does have magic, and he's not a player that I look at and go, there is no way that he comes out of this battle on top. There is a small percentage of me that goes, maybe he does. Honestly, I reckon we haven't even seen Hamiso at full pace in the NRL. That's what it feels like. That we literally haven't seen him hit full pace. Now, you can see that as a bad thing or whatever, but what I'm saying is I still think there's another gear or 2 in Hamiso. How do you see this battle playing out?
Scares the shit out of me knowing that Hamiso is going to be on Munster's edge. That really, really worries me.
Because they have magic. They just got this weird... You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly right. And I also feel with Hamiso, he's been incredible this year, but the reality is the halves he's been playing with, there's been a teenager and a multitude of 3 or 4 other guys. Once he gets a genuine ball player like Munster on the big stages like this, we've seen what money can do in the Origin arena. I'm very scared of Hamiso. And here's me 6 months ago saying, I don't even think he's a fullback.
Mate, I was with you. I didn't even know what position he was. And then he comes out and is part of one of the most... It's seriously one of the most incredible stories in rugby league. This Dolphins, we're living in it. And if they make the finals, we'll celebrate it. It won't be until 5 to 6 years' time when we look back and go, that was arguably one of the greatest things we've ever got to witness in rugby league. And he's been the focal point of it.
Start of this season, I did not think there was a hope in hell he'd be playing Origin.
Yeah, wow. To think.
And then 6 weeks ago, I'm arguing with him about why I think he should be in the side.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's incredible. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I think with the way Queensland will play, it'll be quite a high completion, high percentage type of footy, the way they always do, through the middle. Spend a bit of time roaming in around the ruck, just looking for a bit of second phase play. It'd make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Him and Reece Walsh sniffing around the ruck. So, my question to you, Kemp, is a genuine question. I'm not entirely sure. How do you feel about him defensively coming into this game? He's played a bit of centre for the Cowboys and at club level, not a lot. Was terrific in one game there a couple of years ago and did a great job in Tommy, but it was one game. Are you nervous? Are you semi-confident?
I'm definitely nervous about Hamiso and defence. But as I said, there are NRL players and then there's this step above NRL players. And I think Hamiso fits that category. And he may not have proven it over a long period of time yet, but it's like the point I was making in regards to, I didn't even think we've seen him hit top speed. And so when you see a team and they've got a halfback or a 6 and they're just good, solid 6s or 7s, and then a veteran who everyone reckons their career is over, done, comes into that team. We've seen it with Chad Townsend. We've seen it with Adam Reynolds. Now, I'm not saying that they're on the same superstar level, maybe Adam Reynolds as Hamiso, but there is this levels within levels kind of thing. And I think Hamiso fits on that pedigree of a super, super special player. And super special players step up to the moments. And so I think Hamiso will step up to the moment. But I am nervous in regards to if he is marking Tommy, because even the best centre in the game could have troubles with marking Tom Trbojevic.
It's the other thing that, worries me about Hamiso as a New South Wales fan is that, he's had the last 20 weeks getting backed in completely by Wayne Bennett, and then Billy Slater rings him and says, I'm picking you over Dane Gagai. Like, his confidence would just be sky high at the moment. And I agree with you. He doesn't have the resume to back up that he's an Origin player, but I get very early vibes that he is.
He just got that. There's something special about him. He just makes things happen. They just seem to happen around him. He seems to be in the right position. He seems to be faster than everyone. He seems to be able to handle the physicality of it all. Like, for example, if that wasn't a dead rubber and that was to win the series in Game 3, 2021, we'd be talking about it as one of the best debuts ever. If let's say the game was 1-1, Tommy still had the same series that he had, and then he shut down Tommy in that last game, we'd be talking Hamiso like. But it was because it's a dead rubber, so no one really remembers it.
Well, how are Hamiso's stocks going to go if we're sitting here in 6-8 weeks at the end of the series, and he went from last season being unable to crack an NRL start in 13, and, there was circumstances, Drinker was killing it at fullback, there wasn't a spot for him, whatever. Really good Cowboys team that just weren't losing. And he comes in now, kills it at the Dolphins at fullback. If he comes in, Queensland win the series, and he's done a job on Tommy Trbojevic at centre, his stocks will be like, just as you said,
infinite.
This bloke is unbelievable.
Yeah. I also think that, especially now with Latrell, I'm imagining Hamiso marking Tommy Turbo for 80 minutes, which, technically he will be, but I wonder how much time Turbo's going to spend sitting at right centre, going one-on-one
especially with Trell out.
Especially with Trell out now. I think he'll be roaming a lot more than what we're anticipating.
We'll talk about Turbo. We already spoke about it a little bit, but yes, I'm nervous about Turbo. I am super nervous about Turbo. This is a guy that has been a lot of negative chat around him this year, a lot of doubting. The last thing you want to do as an opposition fan is doubt a superstar like Tom Trbojevic, because that gives them fire. They've already experienced everything, maybe outside of a premiership win. He's already done everything at Origin. He's played for his country. Sometimes, if you give them a reason to be great, they go and do just that. And Turbo has every reason to go out and be great, and that fucking scares me.
The highlight of my week so far has been watching Turbo through social media, hanging out with the guys, playing the music and dancing and singing. Turbo's just like, I just want to play footy. I just want to rip and tear on Wednesday night. I don't want anything in between. I find it so entertaining to watch him just navigate his way through this squad. That's a lot of high energy guys that we need it. But he's just there for business, isn't he, Turbo?
Oh, mate. If he didn't have a fire in his belly 2 years ago, imagine the fire in his belly now. All the doubters, everyone's saying he's done. And we also doubt, I'll speak for me, I won't speak for you boys, but I doubted whether he should be selected. Now, I always just wanted one good game out of him, but I doubted whether he should get more time to get his body right or whatever. So even people that are number one fans of Tom Trbojevic and think he is incredible on the field and off the field had doubts. He's heading into this Origin with the biggest chip on his shoulder and the most talent. It is the worst mixture that you can have as an opposition.
I wouldn't have picked him 3 weeks ago. Happy to admit it. And I look back now and go, what on earth were you talking about? And
you're basing it on fitness levels, and it wasn't there on what we saw.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of chat around Turbo. Is he carrying an injury? What's going on? And there's been a little bit of chat that he has just changed the way that he's been running and whatnot. And watching him train the other day and watching him against Canberra, I wonder if he's just gone, fuck it. I'm just going all in again. I wonder if he's been injured or if he's been holding himself back.
I reckon he's been holding himself back.
Yeah.
And then I reckon that he's had a conversation with whoever and said, I just can't play like this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I'm just not happy. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. If it's going to go, it's going to go. So just give me the chance to go out on my own terms rather than this weird middle ground where everyone's talking about my injuries and whether I'm 80% or 100%. How do you see Tommy impact the game, Timmy?
Yeah, well, for anyone who listens to me on this podcast and gets sick of me talking about roaming centres, it all stems back to Tommy Trbojevic, 2021 Origin, playing centre, and the way he just jumps around the park. And it just makes me so happy. And I thought that had reinvented the wheel in the way that I thought probably coaches would have taken it upon them more to get centres doing this. And it's happened in bits and pieces in the NRL, and we see it from time to time. And I think when we do, it's very effective. But Tommy Turbo at centre, the way he plays that role that I've never seen anyone else play it in my life, it's something to behold. And it's been a few years since we have seen it. I can't wait. It's like you don't stick on the edge, mate. You're essentially a second fullback playing centre. You pop up wherever you want, whenever you want, and it must be terrifying for you because Jesus excites me.
I can just see him. Couple of tired forwards, couple of lazy efforts, and boom, he's straight through. And then you're just like, fuck, there goes the game. The game, 2 tries in the space of 10 minutes or something like that, and you're going, oh my God.
Well, they're him and Teddy, like we saw last in 2021. Them two roam around the right. There's half a sniff, someone goes through, Teddy gets the line break, Turbo's backing up. And
and you're just going far out. Yeah. Like, it's just almost impossible to stop. I mean, 2021, Teddy took the first hit up, Tom took the second one, and I think Teddy took the third. And I think Tom Trbojevic bumped Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. And so you're like, how is that even fair? How is that fair? A dude that big and fast can bump our biggest player. It's just, anyway, it's scary, scary stuff. Now onto the 5'8s. Luai, 11 games, 1 try, 4 line breaks, 1 forced dropout, 6 try assists, 8 line break assists, 92% tackle efficiency, 94 average metres. Munster, 9 games, 6 tries, 8 line breaks, 3 forced dropouts, 5 try assists, 2 line break assists, 84% tackle, 133 average metres. I will say none of those stats really surprised me that much, except for the 92% tackle efficiency. That is actually really, really impressive and probably a part of Luai's game that clearly doesn't get enough appreciation.
Completely agree. Yeah, I think defensively he's a very good 5'8". Isn't it funny with Munster? Like, I don't even care what those numbers.
His stats are irrelevant.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less what his stats are. It doesn't matter. He's an Origin player. He's just born to play in this arena.
This is the one. Look, the positive for New South Wales in this situation is you don't need Luai to be the man. Yep. You don't need him to do what Munster does. You've got enough guys, key players in key positions. So it's a bit of a strange matchup because on the flip side, Queensland need Munster to be the man. Now, that's under the impression that we don't know what's going to happen with Reece Walsh. Now, Reece Walsh could come out and become the man, but right now, if there's one guy Queensland need to be the man, it's Munster. And so these two comparing, they're just not the same. They don't play the same roles in their side, so it's very hard to compare like a versus battle. It's almost better off to compare. Yeah, I mean, it's just hard because like DC versus Cleary does make sense, but the Munster Luai, they just play such different roles.
You could have deleted all those stats and under Luai written Cleary's halves partner, and under Munster just written Origin player. Would have made more sense.
Like, you're talking about them as isolated players as opposed to comparisons.
And how they fit into their side.
In their side, the role that they play. You know, New South Wales don't need Luai. I mean, it would be great if he comes out and has this huge Origin moment, and that's bloody awesome. But I just don't think that that's the style of footy that they play. I don't think that's the point. That's not the tip of the spear for them. The tip of the spear is Teddy, Tommy, Cleary to a degree, whereas Munster has to be the tip of the spear at the moment.
Which realistically, like that's Jerome Luai's position at club level too.
For sure, yeah.
Like he's a role player. He's not a role player, but like they constantly change around who is on that left edge, and he just makes it work with whatever he's given. And it's the Clearys, the Yeos, the Edwards that we're always going to talk about, the Tyos, these sort of guys. I think the biggest thing for me about Luai, and we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, like him, don't like him, whatever. He's a winner. He wins time and time again.
Yeah, the biggest part around Luai where sort of spoke a bit about, and I'm like, I'd probably would have lent towards going Nicho Hynes to 5'8", but when all the press was on Nicho to 5'8" for the Blues and Luai, has he done enough to get picked or not? Probably not this season. And then the 2-3 games leading to Origin, bullshit, that's my spot. And he stood up and was outstanding for the Panthers. And that's what you want to see. You want to see your incumbent go, no, like you're going to have to do more than that to take my spot there. And as Guru said, he's stepped up time and time again at finals football for the Panthers. Did it at the World Cup for Samoa. He's been solid enough in the Origin arena. So it's like, the more you look at it, he deserves his crack.
And I think it's really unfair with a guy like Jerome Luai. I think he's the main one that all of a sudden 2021 didn't happen or it didn't exist or it doesn't count.
It was
to
his debut
record.
year.
They won by a lot, but I'll give you the hot tit. Halves play a role in teams winning by a lot.
Well, I think he had 2 try assists.
When was the last time you heard someone talk about it?
I know.
It's weird how we just put a line through 2021, rules, whatever. Both teams are playing under the same rules.
Well, everyone talks about 2020 because of the loss and like, worst team in 40 years, blah, blah, blah. But no one talks about the following year of the record win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very strange that people forget that, Luai was a part of that. Munster is in such an interesting position because now maybe he already was this to the real nitty-gritty rugby league fan. He was already a big game player. But now Munster is considered a big game player to anyone that watches rugby league. That is a lot of expectation. And that is in the same... He has the same amount of expectation, or not at the same amount, but it is comparable to like Cam Smith, Thurston, Lockie, because when they were coming through, everyone was like, Cam Smith, you better fucking play. Like Queensland was like, it's your job to get us the win. Jonathan Thurston, it is your job to get us the win. Darren Lockyer, it is your job. Munster is that guy now. It is his job to get Queensland the win, and he couldn't be any more different than those three blokes. Like Thurston, Lockie, Smithy, they're different characters. So it is going to be interesting. I do think this is the first Origin he's going into. Maybe last year's you could say he went into as well, but this is like truly he must play well, otherwise it's a bad game for him.
I think last year he was in a pretty similar boat, and I agree with you. Like, he is that guy, whether he wants to be or not. I personally think he does want to be. I think he loves being that guy, but he's got no choice. He has to be that guy.
He has to be. He has to be. Yeah, can't wait. Now, Cleary versus DCE. So Cleary actually came out, DCE came out and said, I'm not too proud to admit that it is Cleary's Australian jersey, but I would love to get it back. Which I love the honesty. I just love the honesty. But Cleary, 11 games, 3 tries, 4 line breaks, 11 forced dropouts, 6 try assists, 7 line break assists, 89% tackle efficiency, 132 average metres. DCE, 11 games, 5 tries, 1 line break, 7 forced dropouts, 9 try assists, 6 line break assists, 91% tackle efficiency, 87 average metres. I think that DCE and Cleary, like statistically, it's not irrelevant, but it's just they're halves. Halves do things that can't really be measured. So they are the key of leading their team around. Like, how do you measure field position? How do you measure setting up for a shot that, you know what I mean? You can't measure that. But I will say, in this battle, I think Cleary is... We talk about chips on our shoulder. I think he is not furious, but he is going in this game going, never again am I getting outplayed by DCE. I genuinely think he feels like, never again am I going to let what happened in 2022 and 2020 by DCE. I need to become the best 7 in Origin.
And it's not like DCE outplayed him because he's a better footballer. He's got more talent. It was just between the ears. It was knowing to kick early, knowing when to kick to spot. All those little things that, as you said, you don't have a stat for that stuff.
You just don't.
Just turning them around, leading your kick chase, and just getting whereas, Nath's got just all the ability you could possibly. Even when you look at those stats, like the one thing that stands out for me is the 89% tackle efficiency. DCE's got 91. The difference is when DCE misses a tackle, it doesn't go down as a missed. Whereas Nath, I think he's one of the best defensive halves we've ever seen.
Mate, he jams blokes.
Jams them. He doesn't make poor decisions. I think that, and I think to be fair to DC, I think he has been better this year than what he has been in. Like, I remember sitting here game 1 last year going, beautiful. We're going to go with DCE all day.
Yeah.
I feel like he has been better this year, but I think that tackle efficiency between the two of them is very misleading.
Yeah, and for people listening on, what do you mean by that? It means like if you just completely miss the tackle, it doesn't really, you don't miss the tackle. So if they just go straight to the line and you don't touch them, it doesn't count as a missed tackle. It's more falling off things.
And there would also be a lot of missed tackles that should go to DCA that normally fall the way of Olakuatu, Kohler, those sort of guys.
I think he's been much better this year, DCE. I think it's probably like the one part of his game that he's really improved over the last couple of seasons. Yeah. Because there's a period there where I did feel defensively he was, I wouldn't say a liability, but it was a concern, that edge. I will say, though, with the edge that they look like they're running out, which is DCE, Holmes, Gilbert, Tuolangi. Cobo, sorry. Cobo does have a brain explosion in him. Gilbert, yes, he played Origin at, on the edge, but for club he's played 13. That's probably the side they're going to be coming at.
And that's, I think, as well, as we were talking about with DC and his defence, I think that it could prove to be an issue because he does defend differently to other halves in this competition. He is And that's where I think if Felice Kafusi was available, at least you would have the guy there that has been there before and understands what he's like defensively. That's where I think it is going to be a big test, that you've got a couple of guys that haven't really defended together before.
Yeah.
Coming up against, your Jerome Laws, your Critters, these sort of guys. Hudson Young, who's got attacking upside as well. Yeah, it'll be a challenge.
Big challenge. I think from a New South Wales perspective, Cleary, watching that game against the Broncos, it must just make you so excited. The fact that just before Origin, you could see a game where his normal game plan got shut down. Mid-game, he just completely changed the way he played. He ended up running for 27 runs, over 200 metres. Like that is that's the boon you get from experience. Like playing more rugby league and understanding that, okay, if your game plan isn't going well or they're getting shut, they know what's going on, they're shutting it down, you need a plan B, you need a plan C. And I think that Cleary coming into this year, he has plan B, C, whatever. He's got as many plans as you need to get it done, and that's what's scary with Cleary this year.
It's interesting that game against the Broncos you're talking about, like Mosley Otter dropped a ball over the line that Cleary would put him over for. Mitch Kenny dropped a ball that he would have put him over for. All of a sudden, if he would have finished that game with another 2 tries to his name, as much stupid as it sounds, another 60 Supercoach points next to his name, we're all talking about him a lot more. Like, I thought that game against the Broncos was like a 9, 10 out of 10 performance for him.
So good.
But other guys just let him down slightly in key moments that I think it didn't get as much hype off the back of it as it should.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I just loved the fact that not only did he have those, moments that were drop balls or whatever in regards to other people dropping his try assist, just the fact that he completely changed the way he played. And if you go back and watch that 2020 grand final against the Storm, they just rattled him.
Yep.
Like, it was a Cam Smith special. Like, we've been around for a while. We know how to rattle young halves. We have a similar-ish half in Cooper Cronk, so we know what upsets him. It's taking game plans out of his hands. But I just think that this version of Cleary, he's ready for nearly anything.
Which is exactly what DCE's done the last 2 years. He's gone, sweet, I'm not going to let you get comfortable. I'm going to kick over your head every single time. You're going to be on the back foot all day.
Yeah. And I'm not going to get you the field position, the rhythm, because that Penrith game is all just about rhythm. It's just all
I'll kick on
about
third. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Sweet.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, that's where these two will be measured, boys, is the kicking game, won't it? Two blokes who will do the vast majority of the kicking for their sides. Two blokes who have won countless games of footy at all levels over the years off their own boot. So when we come out of this series, saying who had the better kicking game, there's every chance that whoever the answer to that is, their side's won the series. So again, like those two, you get to the end of the series going, haven't scored a try, actually wasn't a try assist. But if they've been dominant with the boot, both long and short kicking, that'll tell the story.
Yeah, it's oh man, I can't wait for this. What an interesting. You've got this young fella that's got all these accolades, that's waiting for his Origin moment, and then you've got the older guy who it's almost his redemption arc to a degree in Origin. Made it in Origin, got dropped from Origin, has come back, has won the hearts back of Queenslanders. For many a year, Queenslanders were off him because of the Titan situation or whatever. And yet, after the 2020 and 2022 series, a lot of Queenslanders, they love DCE now. They love DCE. So it's such a different path that both players are taking.
I will just say this too. You mentioned, and so did Tim, about how their kicking games will define them. Just keep in mind this game's played at Adelaide Oval. Yeah. Now we know, history tells us that when you play on fields like this, because it's not a square stadium, it changes the dimensions a little bit. It can quite often really test kickers. Games you've seen at the SCG, and even at the SCG when you go, like you say, you go and watch games at the SCG that Roosters played the last 2 years, and quite often it's away teams that come there and their kicking game can really struggle on those fields. Now, the Blues trained at out there at Homebush on Sunday night. I imagine they're arriving in Adelaide today, so they're not going to get a stack of time down there as well. And it's something that I've noticed over the years, that kickers can really struggle sometimes on fields like this because it changes the dimensions of everything.
Yeah, and also Matty Johns reckons that it's just a different environment there. Like it's a very slippery kind of ball, so it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the kicking as well. Now onto the front rows. So Tevita Pangai Jr. and Haas, Flegler and Collins. What's really interesting, I won't read out all the stats. What's really interesting though is both New South Wales forwards average more metres They both have way more offloads and both have a better tackle efficiency. So statistically, Tevita Pangai Jr. and Haas, so when you look at the statistics with Haas and Tevita Pangai Jr., 91% tackle efficiency, 13 offloads, this is Tevita Pangai Jr., 13 offloads in 129 metres. Haas, 98.4% tackle efficiency, 190 metres, 25 offloads, 56 tackle breaks. Like, that is an anomaly. No one's going to get close to that. Whereas you look at the Queensland front row, 94.4% tackle efficiency. Oh, okay, apologies. So he does have a better tackle efficiency than Tevita Pangai Jr. But 5 offloads, 113 average run metres. And Collins, 124 average run metres, 91% tackle efficiency, only 6 offloads. I mean, the big stat for me here is the metres and the offloads. That is a huge difference.
Before we do get to that, is Payne Haas at 98.4% tackle efficiency when he's a front rower making 50 tackles a game, not the most amazing stat?
It's fucking wild.
Playing huge minutes.
It's incredible. And if I get to an end of game and I look at the stats and Payne Haas has made less than 40 tackles, I go, oh, did he get rested? Was he not out there? What happened here? That is amazing.
Yeah, averaging 16 runs a game. 25
And this
offload.
is when we say there's been great front rowers before him, but there's been no one like Payne Haas. Here we go, Webke, they're not like this guy.
Yeah, we've never seen
That is
anything like
off the charts.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Absolutely insanity that... he's giving you 9 to 10 out of 10s every single week as a front rower. Like, it is just
on the offloads as well. Obviously, TPJ's only played 6 games. So on average, they're besides Jermaine Hopgood, Payne Haas and Tevita Pangai Jr. for like forwards who've played over 5 games are pretty much one in the top 3 of the whole NRL.
Wow.
For average offloads per game.
And then you got Junior Polo, who we know can offload. It is it's honestly, it could be the game decider. Like, if they go out and do that kind of those stats in Origin, we just won't be able to hold them out.
I left here last Monday thinking that team list that Freddie's named, there's no way that's how they'll run out. All indications of how they train the other day looks like that's how they will run out. No idea about Queensland, but from look at the New South Wales side, that's what it looked like how they would run out.
It's such a gamble because if Tevita Pangai Jr., if he starts and the game doesn't go the way New South Wales want, he could be gassed in literally 10 minutes, and all of a sudden you're going, oh my God, we need to get him off ASAP. And you haven't been able to use his main asset at all in that first stint. But if it goes the way that you want it to go, you could be 2 tries up.
It'll be interesting to see if it doesn't go, because as we said last week, you'll know in the first set. You'll know in the first set if this is going to go the way that we want it to go with TPJ. I wonder what Freddie's... Will it just be if it's not looking good, take him off and regroup to get him back out there as quick as you possibly can? You might burn an interchange there, but if you can get him off, regroup and get the proper TPJ. And look, I criticised him last week saying I would have picked him. Watched him very closely the other day. His body language and everything was tremendous down there for New South Wales. And you can tell the other guys, none of them are second-guessing having him there at all, which shouldn't be a shock to any of us. But I'm feeling more confident about TPJ than what I was last week, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm with you, Guru. Again, the fact that we've had a week to regroup and think about these things, the more I think about the TPJ session, firstly, I prefer him off the bench. I'd start Junior Bolo and just TPJ's impact off the bench to a tiring pack. Yeah. Like, the first 20 minutes of Origin are absolutely killer. And for those reasons you just said, I hope you'll be all right, Thorpe, but I'd be far more confident of coming on 20, 25 minutes in with his impact. At club level, where he needs to string games together and not have brain explosions and not make errors, not have all the negative sides of TPJ, I have my queries. But at Origin level, where we're saying, mate, go out there, I need 1 good performance for you, or it might be 3 good performances from you, in limited minutes, we know he can be, for periods of play, the best front rower in the game. So I'm like, I shouldn't say how much can go wrong, because that's a dangerous thing to say about Tevita Pangai Jr., but go out there, go ham for 2 15-minute stints, whatever it might be, 2 20-minute stints. And I really see where Freddie's come from. Like, I get it. It excites me, makes me nervous, but I think he can have a real impact on this game. I'd love to see him come off the bench come game day, but...
Yeah, and for me, you said the offloads are so important. For me, it's not about offloads, it's about effective offloads. It's about offloading in the right moments.
And that's where the first 20 minutes of the game, you get into this arm wrestle, you probably don't encourage too many offloads, particularly some Larry left field offloads. But once he does come on against tiring forwards, 20 minutes in, and the game starts to break open a little bit, there'll be more opportunity for offloads. That's where I think he'd be more effective.
Well, I personally thought, and this is me just being paranoid, tinfoil hat, I thought it was a bit of smoke and mirrors to try to almost get the Queensland forward pack in this mindset of like, all right, let's go. And get the Queenslanders to make the mistake of being too hyped up for that first 10 minutes. Because we know Flegler and Collins, they see red mist. They see red mist. And so I just wonder, is it a bit of mind games from Freddie to say that he's starting? So all week the build-up is Fifita, Pangai Jr versus Flegler and Collins. Is there going to be a punch on? Is there going to be this? And you've got Collins and Fifita and Flegler reading the papers going, fuck, let's just go. So I wonder whether that's going to be a bit of smoke and mirrors, but I can't wait.
So if you have, back to the point of TPJ, Club v, we'll find out what Origin delivers for him, but if I'm going TPJ v Flegler at club level, I'm taking Flegler every day of the week. I want him for the duration of the season, long term. But as a head-to-head, playing 30 minutes each Origin, I'm going, I think I might take TPJ.
Yeah. You're right in regards to you just need 3, like let's say you did play him for 20 minutes. You just need 3 20-minute good periods from him. Fifita can do that.
In a series.
In a big way.
We saw, I feel like last year the Maroons with Josh Papali'i, he only played about 20, 25 minutes max, didn't he? So maybe they do similar with TPJ. So you're not asking that much, are you?
Well, I can't see him playing many minutes. I just don't know. I just can't see him keeping up with the pace of the game for longer than those stints.
And Cam Murray will come on and play, probably 55 straight, if not 60.
I'd say. Now, on to the Queenslanders. Now, what I love about this forward pack versus each other is in the front rowers, it just represents so much what usually happens in Origin. You've got 2 explosive, statistically unbelievable forwards where you go, probably give them the nod statistically. But then you go across and you look across to the Queenslanders and you go, okay, statistically, their ceiling's not as high. All of these things. But they turn up in Origin and they just go absolutely fucking crazy. And you see this whole other man out there. And I do think Flegler and Collins have that in them. They are dogs. They're going to go for 80 minutes. If you said Collins and Flegler, I need you to go 80, you know they could. You know they could. And they'd love it. They'd embrace it. And so that's where every player, every forward front rower has ticker. I'm not saying they don't. But just that 80 minutes willingness to go that extra mile, maybe that's where Flegler and Collins win the game.
Well, for me, it is where they can win the game because, I know what I'm going to get out of Payne Haas. I know what I'm going to get out of Flogler. That's
a good one, Flogler.
I know what I'm going to get out of those two. But it is the game with TPJ. I don't know what I'm going to get. He hasn't been in the arena before. The other guys have. I know what I'm going to get 100%. I really like your forward pack.
And I know people are sitting there screaming, going, Haas could go 80 minutes. Yeah, for sure. But Haas is the superstar. Haas is the guy on the billboards, on the papers. Flegler and Collins, they're just the battlers. They're the battlers that somehow turn up for Origin sometimes.
And you talk about this really, he obviously played big minutes, Payne Haas, and it's different but similar, how Munster needs to step up for Queensland. With what's coming off that bench for the Maroons, and we know how Maroons are known for this first 20-minute dogfight, we need Payne Haas to step up, and he will. I don't think he's played a bad minute of footy his entire life, but he has to be big for us.
Well, actually, under 12s, he dropped 3 balls in the first half. Just so you know, Timmy the Tin Man, Haas has played half a game that wasn't that great. My brother's cousin's sister saw him play.
I stand corrected. Apologies.
As someone that I have no doubt watches Haas more closer than we do, how many minutes do you think he'll play?
Haas?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it'll be just game dependent. Yeah. Really game dependent because you got Martin and Murray on the bench. It'll just be how the game is unfolding. But what I love about the starting of Haas is that if Fifita's ass is hanging out, you know Haas has got the gas tank to pick up that the slack of Fifita. And that, not to say that definitely will happen, but as I said, if you guys are defending constantly for the first 10, Fifita, what's the longest stint he's played at club? Not very long. He does gas quite. He's a big boy, put it that way.
I would think probably the goal would be to get him through the first half, play the first 10 of the second half, probably have a 15 minutes break, and come on for the last 15. So looking at anywhere from 60 to 65 minutes, as you said, Kempy, game dependent. The goal might for him to play the first 40, but we know at Origin the speed of it can be like after 30 minutes, like, okay, this bloke needs a spell.
Yeah.
So he misses the last 10 of the first half and maybe the first 15 of the second half and comes on. But
Or it could be a matter of he's done his job. Let's get the fast play the balls on and break this game completely
yeah,
open.
you know what? It might be the first 30 minutes, misses the back half of the first half, start of the second half, then comes on for the last 25. That probably makes more sense because 40 minutes as a middle in Origin, it's a big ask.
And he's a big boy. He's a big boy.
So I think that's probably more likely.
They make it might be 20. They could be 20 minutes in, and Freddie could be feeling like if I get some quick play the balls here, we are going to score points. So I really think it's game dependent. Really game dependent.
Isn't it crazy when you look at Payne Haas? Wednesday's going to be his 8th Origin game. He's 23 years old. Like, he could have 10 more years of Origin ahead of him, and we're already talking about him as the main front row for New South Wales. Like, when he went down at training the other day, my eyes straight, I never realised how important he was until right now.
I will say you absolutely are going to miss Jake Trbojevic in the middle there.
Oh, without a doubt. Yes.
Like,
Hell yeah.
Seriously, we talk about Origin players, and he's almost like on just a step above the Flegler and Collins in regards to. They may not, and I know Jake Trbojevic is a superstar now, but like he's not the highlights player. Statistically, you're not going to sit there and go, "Holy heckers, look at that!" 180 meters and 20 offloads. But the clean-up work, the tough stuff, the 1%ers that never give in, the needing to go to places that no other man will go to, Jake Trbojevic goes to those places.
And he's just one of those. Like when Payne went down the other day, I turned to Matty, I said, "Fuck, is Dale Finucane available?"
Yeah.
Like he's the sort, because Gerbo isn't. It's the sort of guy I want in there.
Campy, I'm throwing a real curly one at you, and I want it to be a real quick, short, sharp answer. And I should have saved it for another week. Like, no, I want to hear it now. I'm so keen. We sat here at the back end of last year of the regular season. The Broncos had just shit the bed. This isn't a dig, don't worry. And Pat Carrigan had missed the back end of the season. And we all spoke about who we would prefer at the Broncos if you're building around. Would it be Carrigan or Haas? I don't want justification. I want a one-word answer. You can re-sign one player for the next 10 years, Carrigan or Haas, the Broncos. Who is it? I don't want you to validate yourself, justify yourself. I want a one-word answer.
That's fucked. That's fucked. That's just like trying to pick your favourite child.
Yeah, pick it.
Right. His parents already picked Sam, so.
And I've come to live with that decision.
And so they're both on the same amount of money?
Yep, same amount, both on $1 million a year. Next 10 years, you can only have one of them.
Oh, man. I think last year I said Carrigan.
I think we all said Carrigan last year off the back of that losing streak at the end.
Oh, man, I don't know. Maybe Carrigan, just because of the captaincy.
I would still go Carrigan personally.
Just because of the captaincy side of things. Yeah. But in regards to what you can do on a footy field, like Haas is in his own league. Haas is if you're talking about pure footy, like on the rugby league field, nothing else matters, you go Haas.
So, yeah.
But if you're talking about off the field and all the stuff that Carrigan, everything like that.
Which is what makes it so hard because you're not just stacking up stats on the field.
No.
So
would you go one-word answer? I'm Carrigan.
That's why I asked him the question because I didn't have an answer.
On, mate. Don't cow it out now.
I would go Carrigan.
Matty?
I'd go Payne Haas. He's just a once in a generation thing.
Bleeds blue, Matty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know.
I don't know either.
Watching Haas this year, it's just like, bro, seriously, he's so good. He's so good.
If you were another club trying to decide which one you'd sign, you'd almost be happy to say, Brisbane, pick yours, I'll have the other one.
Yeah, whatever you
win
want. Because you win either way.
Yeah.
You win either way. Now, onto the hookers. Appy, 11 games, 2 tries, 2 line breaks, 4 try assists, 4 line break assists, 87.6% tackle efficiency, 58 metres. Look, this is not really one for one because he's a halfback, but 11 games, 5 tries, 8 forced dropouts, 9 try assists, 9 line break assists, 85% tackle efficiency, 98 metres. Stats aren't really comparable. As a Queenslander, I've got so much respect for Appy's talent, his ability, but for me, Hunt every day of the week. In Origin, Hunt is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Benny Hunt for sure. And I think that we'll talk about it soon, obviously, when we get to the bench. But when you consider that Hunt's got, he might be the best or the second best hooker in rugby league. The other one's sitting on the bench. Appy, it looks like he'll have to go close to 80. Nico Hynes spent time at dummy half the other day. So I don't know how well that's going to work. But I have my same concern with Appy that I had last week. And I'm not sure how he's going to go playing huge minutes.
So it looked like, from a training perspective, because had Luai spent a bit of time there as well?
No time at dummy half the other day.
Okay, so
and they sent Blake Brayley home the day before.
So Nico, it looks like, with the one will be giving Appy a spell.
Training session finished with Hudson. Was it Hudson Young, Matty, playing the ball, and Nico and Appy were just practicing scooting.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea would be Appy 80, but if required.
Yeah.
Big call. Look, I think Hunt is just as crafty as Appy. I think physically he's a bit stronger. But Appy Coruscant, at his best, we're talking about the back-to-back premiership winning hooker. Yeah. So it's like, although I would pick Hunt in this situation, Appy with Cleary, Luai with Yeo, that is scary, scary stuff.
There's no stat for it there, but just Hunt's kicking game and how smart he is with his kicking game. But that's what killed us at the back end of, I think it was game 1, 2 or 3 last year. Like, just when Hunt came on and just the moments he would pick and choose when to kick long. He's just a genius.
Well, it's crazy, and I've said it on the podcast before, but Cam Smith, before the series even started, he's like, I'm going to tell him to do this, and this. Big game comes, he just did exactly what Cam Smith said, and it just went, pick the game apart.
Yeah, really happy for you.
Oh, yeah. Like we all know how they both play. It's going to be an incredible matchup. Appy scheming around the ruck, constantly dangerous. Nines are all about their forward pack, though. I do think that the good thing for Hunt, though, is he has, because he can play 7 and he also plays 9, could even play a bit of lock if he wanted to. He's just got more. If the game goes certain ways, I think he can handle it a little bit better. Whereas I think Appy, he probably needs the game to go a certain way for him to just kill it.
It has to go in a certain way for Appy, but if it does, it's his game.
He will honestly tear us apart. Like I can already see it in my mind. Appy jumping out of dummy half, taking 2 to 3 steps. Sometimes he passes it, sometimes he doesn't. And every single play the ball, the markers are on red alert because they're just wigging out about Appy Coruscant. I can see it happening.
And as you guys said before, they've picked a team of middle forwards that can all offload. And that's going to suit Appy down to a T. If it all comes together, like Freddie's planning it in his mind, it could be lethal.
It's so late. Like, so many points could come through that middle third because your forwards, if your forwards do exactly what you hope they're going to do, very, very tough to stop.
And even if it's not points coming, it's just that, like, with the guys that are offloading there, Queensland are going to make 9 tackles every set and be on the back foot entirely. It just takes so much out of the tank.
Where do you see going with Hunt versus Appy?
Yeah, you boys sort of touched on, my mate, on the points I was going to touch on there, and it was around, firstly, that I think Ben Hunt, firstly, your hooker's only as good as your forward pack. Appy will need the go forward and the winning that battle through the middle to impact this game. Ben Hunt, I think his game being more well-rounded, as you said, Kempy, he can influence the game if Queensland's middles don't dominate as much, and he can still be a bit more creative there. So, all pack dependent, but as Guru touched on, I just think the triple threat of kicking games for the Maroons with Benny Hunt at number 9, particularly the long kicking game, you've got DCE and Benny Hunt, 2 of, if not two, the best 40-20 kickers in the game and long-range kickers in the game, just probing. And when you have Munster, who's got a good kicking game, again, very good long, Munster, DC and Benny Hunt, you can't, like, there'll be a lot of pressure stacked, put on Nathan Cleary because he'll be the go-to kicker for the Blues, but the Maroons could go any way, so they can't all bite in on one bloke.
Yeah.
And the second they all line up for Ches, because I think he's getting it, Benny Hunt steps off that other fourth tackle and pots a 40-20. You can just see it happening.
Even Harry Grant's kicking game has gotten so much better as well. Okay, on to the back row. Brazil and Young versus Gilbert and Fifita. Brazil, 10 games, 4 tries, 3 line breaks, 0 line break assists, 4 offloads, 96.3% tackle efficiency, 98 metres. Young, 11 games, 5 tries, 3 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 22 offloads, 89% tackle efficiency, 103 metres. Gilbert, 11 games, 2 tries, 1 line break, 16 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, 91% tackle efficiency, 118 average metres. Fifita, 11 games, 4 tries, 5 line breaks, 6 line break assists, 23 offloads, 92% tackle efficiency, and 170 average metres. Look, I think that Gilbert, Young, Frizzell, all about on the same level of how they could impact a game. Now, some may play better than the other. I think Fifita is the real ace up the sleeve in this situation.
And I think Fifita as well, he's the big aspect that worries me we didn't talk about when we're talking about Hamiso. Like you look there, what's that, 24 offloads so far this season? Fifita, like it's not a 1-2-man job, it's a 3-man job. If he can get that offload away, Hamiso's all of a sudden up against scattered numbers.
And to compare stats just quickly, 23 offloads for Fifita, 4 offloads for Gilbert, 22 for Young, 4 offloads for Frizzell. So it's really interesting that it's almost a mirror image of back rows.
Yeah.
So you've got Young, the game breaker, Fifita, the game breaker, and then the battler of Frizzell and the battler of Gilbert. I do think that Fifita's game breaking is a step above Young's game breaking, but we haven't seen Young in Origin. We just don't know what he's going to do.
I think they break games in very different ways too. And I think that just when you optically look at it, the way Fifita does it is just so damaging and unbelievable. But like Hudson's got his own little ways.
Well, I'll tell you what,
big impact on games.
there was a scary quote this week that made me a bit worried about Hudson from a Queensland perspective. He said basically like, they asked him who he's been the biggest fan of in camp or whatever. And he said Nathan Cleary in the spine. He just said it's one thing to play against them. He said it's another thing to play with them and just see how good they are at like, and I'm paraphrasing here, see how smooth they are. And that's what scares me. And this is no disrespect to Jackie White and Fogarty, but we haven't seen Hudson Young outside the best in the business.
Well, the reality is Jack, like he's a tailor-made 5'8". He's not a natural 6. He's done incredibly well there. But he's not like these Penrith boys. So I agree. I think the other thing with Fifita that, you know, obviously this year we all talk about how he's just improved as far as taking the line on and just getting the ball in the right spots. But I think his ball playing has been tremendous this year. And that's the other thing that really worries me with Hamiso, that Fifita's realised that he can be as dangerous just holding the ball for that second longer and then giving it because he just draws guys in. It's a scary combo there.
170 average metres. The closest is Gilbert, who's been playing 13 at 118.
And also, he's battling with himself. As far as I can see here, I just looked it up. I just saw it on Twitter. He's never reached 130 per year before.
Who's that?
Fifita. So, like, his next best is 128 metres per game. That's according to Jason Oliver.
And that's the other thing as well with Fifita. Like, realistically, if you miss that tackle on the front line, he's got Hamiso next to him. It's a try.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone. I cannot wait to see. So will it be Young versus Fifita or will it be Young versus Gilbert?
Frizzell and Fifita, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Hudson and Gilbert.
Ooh. So you've got the battlers, the high quality, good defenders. Frizzell versus Fifita. I tell you what, if I wanted, outside of Cam Murray, who I probably would have put there to take care of David Fifita, Frizzell's up there with one of the guys I'd want to do a job. He's been in the Origin arena plenty of times before. He's tough, he's fit, gets through a bunch of work. He's also athletically gifted, you know, not to the degree Fifita is, but he's a beast.
And that's where you have got these two, you know, upside juggernauts against two guys that obviously Frizzell, he's got the runs on the board as being an Origin player. Tom Gilbert, he might not have those runs on the board, but I heard Wayne Bennett say the other day, he's an Origin player.
100% he's an Origin player. I got no doubt that, I don't know how good he'll play. I know Gilbert is ripping and tearing.
He'll do a job every single. You already know he's that caliber before he's got 5 years of runs on the board.
Yeah.
So, you know, Origin, you know, the history of Origin.
He won't go missing.
Not at all. No.
And there were a lot of players, some players get to Origin and they go missing a little bit. Gilbert's not going.
Well, that's the history of Origin tells us that the high upside guys taking on an Origin player, the Origin player will win the vast
Exactly
majority
right.
of the time.
Yeah.
And you can't measure that shit. It is what it is.
That's it. Like Fifita, like he's certainly the scariest of those four by a mile. He's the upside player there. We think we'll get a good game out of him. In fact, I'm pretty confident we will. But we also know that when he plays big minutes, there can be defensive lapses, there can be lazy efforts. Whereas Tommy Gilbert, he'll put in for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
He'll be 110% effort. He puts it all in. I do, and I touched on it last week, I see it as a great opportunity for Gilbert. The Blues going at Gilbert in that edge of DC, Gilbert, Val and Cobo. I really think they're going to go there a lot in this game. Gilbert, I know he's played enough on the edge before, but I think he's a much better middle. I'm optimistic as a Blues supporter that they picked him on the edge rather than stuck him as a middle. That being said, it's nice and intangible as well. Origin player, you know he's going to get a job done. They wouldn't have picked him there if they weren't confident that he wouldn't. So I'm not upset by it though. They'll have a good.
Well, I mean, because he hasn't played on the edge, there may be spacing that usually isn't there because he hasn't played on the edge all year. I mean, that could be a reality.
Yeah.
He could have the biggest crack out of anyone. He still could make some errors because, as in defensive reads or whatever, because he just hasn't got the reps there. So that could happen, but I can't wait. I actually think the back row is relatively even in regards to, so Frizzell's experience tips you guys over the edge, but then Fifita's superstardom tips him over the edge. Hudson Young and Gilbert, they're both kind of we just don't know, but what we do know for sure is Young and Gilbert are going to rip and tear all day long.
I think it's so interesting with Hudson too. I've always looked at him and gone, he's got what it takes to be in the Origin arena. Whereas Fifita the last few years, I probably haven't. But in the last 10 weeks, I've gone, fuck, okay, it's happened now.
He's 23 years old or something now. It's so crazy, bro. He's so young.
And I genuinely do really hope that Fifita and Hudson are starting edge back rowers in State of Origin for the next 10 years. Because I think they're both tailor-made for it.
It'd be so good. So good. Could you imagine the battles they're going to have if they're back rowers?
Well,
oh my God.
Fifita's one that has every opportunity in this series to go, all right, you've been the most dominant edge back row in the NRL. You have the potential to be the best forward in the NRL. He could come out and tear this apart and we just go, there he is. The best, one of the, he could be anything good.
He could be anything.
Oh my God.
And that's where it worries me that inside him he's got little Cam Munster that no one's talking about.
Now onto the locks. Arguable the battle of the, I think the battle of Carrigan, mate versus mate, Carrigan versus Haas. I can't wait to see that. I can't, because they are really close. They complement each other so well at the Brisbane Broncos. Carrigan's not going to take a backward step. Haas isn't. But in regards to genuine battles, impact on the game, this is almost as important as the 7 battle in my opinion. Isaiah Yeo versus Carrigan. It is the I don't think, and maybe I'm probably being hyperbolic. It's Origin. Excuse me. But have we seen 13s at this level, this high level going at each other? Far out. I just don't know. Maybe we have, if you guys can think of some 13s that could play this high level of rugby league.
I think 2 guys as well that are just, could talk about so many of these matchups are such different players. These 2 are so similar.
Mate,
so many ways.
And they're just so impactful for their clubs. You know what? You had, I think Corey Parker played 13 for a bit, did a great job. Gallen played 13 for a bit. But did they have the silkiness that Isaiah Yeo and Carrigan do? Now, I'm not saying that their career is better. Corey Parker and Gallen, we're talking about premiership winners here. Obviously, Yeo is. But just a 13 that has as well-rounded game as these 2, I don't know. I can't remember
and
a time.
Plays the big minutes.
Big hit-ups, big defence, great ball playing, great offloads, super smart.
And you just know that whatever points are scored in this game leading up in that set, one of these 2 would have had their fingerprints.
I love
2 or 3 times.
I love that. I agree with all your boys' sentiments. And it could also be Cam Murray and Tino Fasuamalawi starting. And you could still have the same conversation. Because of the quality of all 4 of those blokes.
100%. It is. This matchup is incredible, and I'm sure there'll be people that will remind us about some great 13s that have come through. It's more just both 13s, both teams having 13s that if Carrigan got picked at 13 for Australia and Yeo didn't, you'd go, it's okay. If Yeo gets picked for Australia, you go, yeah, it's okay. Just so good. So anyway, 11 games, 0 tries, 25 tackle breaks, 11 average runs, 9 offloads, 97% tackle efficiency, 165 average metres. That is Isaiah Yeo. Carrigan, 12 games, 0 tries, 21 tackle breaks, 14 average runs, 16 offloads, 96% tackle efficiency, and 170 average metres. Their stats are so similar, it's mental.
There's nothing in it.
There's literally nothing in it. Where do you see, I guess, the difference? Because they're going to do the same thing. I'd say Isaiah Yeo maybe a bit better ball player, but I would say Carrigan has more physicality. Like he's almost a front rower in the way he runs.
I think both these guys as linkmen, they're both tremendous. But I think what separates these guys from others is their ability to pick and choose those moments. And I think Yeo does it better than anyone in the game when he just wedges in between the A and the first marker. And he knows he never gets it wrong. Yeah. He always wins that set of 6 on that one hit up. And I'm starting to see Paddy Carrigan do it more and more as well. Just that awareness, just that spatial awareness to know, okay, now's the moment for me to go and I win the advantage, or he tips on, or he goes out the back. I think there'll be a set of 6 in this game that is won by one of those wedging runs they do, because the rest of the team just, and you can see whenever Yeo does it, Nath Cleary goes, okay, let's go. I go now. Yeah.
Where do you see the difference, Timmy?
It's the ball play, mate. Yeah, of Isaiah Yeo. And we keep talking about how heavy Penrith the Blues have gone on Penrith players. And a lot of it comes back to Isaiah Yeo being the middleman in between Api Koroisau, former Penrith obviously, Luai, Cleary, and just the transition when they go from side to side is so smooth because of Isaiah Yeo and what he does. You know, if I'm looking for a bloke to truck it up and do the hard yards, this is no knock on Isaiah Yeo, but probably narrowly I would go towards Pat Carrigan. As I said, I think he's more of a front row, heavy sort of prop forward where he does the hard yards. But Isaiah's ball playing, I think he's so slick, and I think that could be the difference between the sides.
It's also where the differing. I think one of the big differences is just their body shapes. So Isaiah Yeo is so much longer, and it makes it. You know, if you go up top to stop the offload good and well, his leg drive is just incredible. If you go low, he creates something. He's just so hard to handle in that respect, Isaiah Yeo.
You know what doesn't get spoken about enough, in my opinion? Paddy Carrigan was player of the series last year.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about the player of the series in series with Kalen, an incredible win. And also, I'm pretty sure that was his debut series, wasn't it? Could you check? Maybe he debuted the year before. I tell you what, it might have been his game 1 might have been his second game, maybe, but I'm pretty sure it was his debut series.
But realistically, it could have been his 3rd series. No forward should come in and have that much impact on a footy.
It was his debut.
Yeah.
Debut series, player of the series. When we talk about made for Origin, Carrigan is made for Origin. He is purely made for Origin. And so I cannot wait for this battle. I cannot wait for it.
Which I probably think is, one thing between the two of them that I think if you polled 100 people, I think more people would say Carrigan's an Origin player than Isaiah Yeo at the moment, even though Isaiah Yeo's played more Origin football. I think people look more so at Carrigan from that perspective.
Well, I think that Isaiah Yeo will have more impact if the game plan that Cleary wants to play is being played. You'll just see Isaiah just carving up. Whereas if it turns into a battle of attrition, Isaiah Yeo still is, he can take mad hit-ups. But Carrigan is that guy. He's the guy of a battle of attrition. I think Carrigan, that suits him. That kind of like the ball is in play for 15 minutes. There's no errors. Then someone needs to take a hit up. Someone needs to take a hit up. I just think that kind of footy suits Carrigan quite a lot.
I was sort of a little bit surprised to see their average metres were so similar at club level. I would have thought Carrigan trucking up a little bit more would have had a few more metres on Yeo, which just goes back to Yeo going, "You're incredible, mate."
He's incredible.
To be arguably probably the best ball playing lock in the NRL, but still average the same metres, one of the best middle forwards in the game as Pat Carrigan.
It's craziness.
That's because he picks his times. Perfect.
Every run is like
every
10
run
gun.
is perfect.
Like defences for Paddy and Isaiah, but especially Isaiah, must be a nightmare because every time it's not a pretend to pass. You know, we always got these forwards that are like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to pass." It's a genuine. He could throw a mad ball to Cleary, or he may run as hard as a front rower, and it's so hard to defend. I think it's as well. Like Isaiah Yeo would probably be looking across, going, "A lock." One player of the series last year. I'm supposed to be the best lock in the competition. Huge battle.
And not only that, Carrigan was on the bench for 2 of the games last year.
He's so made for Origin. It's crazy. It is. He's built for it. I'll never forget the scenes when they showed inside on his debut, halftime in the locker rooms. He's in their forward pack, the Queensland forward pack, doing these ones on his debut. Incredible.
That ties into the Haas v Carrigan debate. Well, obviously on field Haas, but then you see shit like that and you go, that's
Yeah.
like just build a club around that for 10 years.
Fucking hell. Can't wait for this battle. Okay, now, next battle, the utility. Hynes versus Grant. Look, this is just, it's so unknown what Hynes is going to be used as. We know exactly how Harry Grant is going to be used. So, like, right now, of course, Harry Grant has the upper hand here because we know what he's going to do. He's broken your hearts, multiple times now in Origin. But Hynes is the Dally M player of the year. If he comes on, becomes a link man and has a couple line breaks and a try, would we be surprised? Absolutely not. So it does scare me to think of a Hynes coming on when everyone's tired because he's so good at front foot footy.
That's the thing with Hynes. We could be sitting here on the Thursday morning saying, well, Hynes is an Origin player. He's just got that about him. But it was so funny. When we were down at Coogee Oval the other day, I was watching Hynes and how he fit in. And my big worry is he the right pick for the team? We don't, you've got Harry Grant and you've got Ben Hunt, which I wish we had those two sort of players. And I was sort of sitting there going, geez, we just don't have that perfect 14. And then Craig Wing walked past me. I just went, fuck, that's what I want. That is exactly what I want.
Yeah. Sorry, mate.
There you go.
When you're at training, were they a lot of opposed being run?
Towards the back end there was, yeah.
Did Nico really chime in much or?
It pretty much when he chimed in was when he was jumping in at 9, right, Matty?
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, I mean...
But at no point did they pull Luai out or Cleary or... Yeah.
If Appy,
that's only one session, of course, out of a week, so...
If Appy goes 80, Hynes may not get on the field, realistically.
Depending if they want to give Isaiah Yeo a rest, I think.
But if you're going to give Isaiah a rest, do you put Cam Murray there?
Jimmy
Or do you,
Barrow,
that's a good
we've
point.
got the blokes
That's a good
there.
point. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
If the game's tight or, let's say, the Blues are trying to defend a narrow lead and Appy's got the 80 in him, he might not get on the field.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. I can't wait for Harry Grant, though.
I can. Yeah.
Oh, man, he is just... And when he's playing your team, he creates so much tension and anxiety, it just does your head in. Every time, if there is a marker that is a hair out of place, Harry Grant can see it, and he takes it. And he does exactly the right thing. He runs the ball exactly the right amount of meters. The amount of times he'll step out, he'll take 3 steps instead of 2, which makes the A defender stay, and then he creates space on the edge, or he gets out and boom, just hits the afterburners. I am super excited to see Harry Grant come on and do his job.
It's just so frustrating that, we pick Appy, who's a fantastic player. I'm worried about him playing the big minutes, and you've got your bench hooker who is well and truly good enough to be playing 80 and would handle himself across 80 minutes, but you've just got the luxury of picking St George's halfback to start at hooker. It's an unbelievable position you guys find yourselves in, and yeah, Harry... I've said before, I think he'll be the second best hooker ever eventually, and I think that these years that he's going to spend with Ben Hunt are going to be so good for him. So good for him.
Cannot wait for Harry Grant to get on the field.
And just having 2 series behind him, combinations with Cam Munster, Daly, Cherry Evans, it's only going to get better and better.
Yeah, going to get better and better.
And as you said too, your forward packs, your hooker's only as good as your forward pack. Your forward pack, everyone is in form at the moment.
Especially when Harry Grant comes on at the same time as the blokes we're about to mention. Oof.
Which is when Harry Grant comes on the field, that's the exact moment I want Jake Jorovic out there.
Yeah, I know, to cover everything.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the bench. Murray, Bowlaw and Martin versus Tino, Cotter and Arrow. What a battle. What a battle. We won't go to stats because it's almost irrelevant to a degree because they're playing different roles to what they would play at club because they're all starters at club except for Arrow, obviously, recently. I don't know which bench is better. Maybe knowing the known, so knowing how they can play at Origin in regards to Harry Grant, knowing what he can do, maybe that tips the scales in Queensland's favour, but we don't know what Hynes is going to offer. If Hynes goes on and does what we hope he can do, then this could genuinely be a 50-50 even split of who's got a better bench.
If we're including the 14s as part of this conversation, I'd lean slightly towards Queensland, but if you just look at those 3 forwards, I think I'd rather our boys.
Timmy?
Them 3 players, they're almost like perfectly like for like, aren't they?
Yeah.
And a great sign of 6 of the best players in the NRL. You blokes, Guru in particular, talk about how starting isn't the be-all and end-all in the current rugby league era. It's like your bench impact is, it can be just as effective off the bench. Those 6 players are as good as they come in the game at the moment. I don't know who's better out of those 6. Like, they're so similar.
It's so good. Like Tino, Polo, Cotter, Murray, Martin, Arrow.
And this is where I personally think it's never been easy in rugby league to lose a game from the coach's box, just depending on when you put the right guy out there.
And the quick play of the balls and knowing when to bring him on and when to... Yeah.
So does Liam Martin come in through the middle or on the edge?
Oh, I think it's another player by ear kind of thing. See how Hudson Young goes. Does he handle the moment? Does Frizzell handle the moment? Martin may come on through the middle, or Hudson Young may get 20, and he might be struggling. He might not be struggling. I
guess the other thing is, you talk about playing it by ear. Is there a Fifita effect? If Fifita's causing a ruckus, maybe you just go
get Murray out there.
Do you go Murray out there and put him? Do you go Martin on him?
No, I'd go Murray for sure.
We've seen him do it before.
If anyone's causing carnage on the edges, Murray's getting put straight on there. He's the guy to get the job done, in my opinion.
Then
defensively.
we just lose so much through the middle though without Murray.
Yeah,
Martin's also a dog in D.
Yeah, I would be happy to put Martin up.
Yeah, same.
I would fix the problem with the best person possible quickly, rather than be like, but we could use him for the middle. I just think that Murray is such a good defender. I'd be plugging that hole with Murray.
Yeah, I don't know. If you lose the middle though, with Ben Hunt and Harry Grant, it's Red Rover.
The one thing I do like is I think that the Blues I mentioned earlier, but are going to play some really expansive footy, and I think they're going to use the ball out of their own end. And we have such terrific ball-playing forwards with Isaiah Yeo, Cam Murray to come in there, Junior Barlow, one of the best front-row ball-playing forwards in the game. So I think that ties into our game plan. I honestly think we're going to go try blow you blokes out of the park early on, as we did in 2021 with expansive, big, long, wide passes coming out of our own end, and just make your pack work. Because you want to get into a dogfight, the Maroons. They do it every single year.
Yeah.
You want to get us to your level, kick early and turn into a dogfight. I don't think the Blues want that. And I think the selection of Josh Addo-Carr, for example, off the back of one game shows that.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see Cotter again in the Origin Arena. And then Arrow coming on. Arrow and Martin, could they, it's so bizarre. Could Arrow and Martin be any more similar? They are so similar in the way they play. It is crazy.
And they're both just as slept on as each other.
Yeah, for
how
sure.
important they're going to be in this game.
Martin was arguably Australia's best. He was so good for Australia, Liam Martin. And even when he come on the other week after being gone for a while, he was so aggressive. It was crazy. His game for Australia, he was shotting Nelson Asafa-Solomona. No one does that. No one does that, but the dog, Martin, does it. Really interesting, I reckon, series for Paulo. Because he's a veteran now. He's no longer the big, young forward that can offload. And he's a guy that's going to have to lead from the front and almost take a similar role that Papali'i took with the Queensland side. Be a leader to the young guys coming through, teaching them certain things do you need to do that you don't need to do. Cannot wait.
I can't wait until an hour before and we see the proper team list. And then you get to really analyse
to know who's going to be where.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be part of the coaches that'll see the other team and go, fuck, I wish I would have. Or whatever it might be. It'll be very interesting.
Because I wonder whether...
I reckon there'll be part of both coaches going, what will Freddie do or what will Billy do?
Because if Tevita Pangai Jr. isn't starting, would have it been smarter to start Tino over Flegler?
Yeah.
TPJ is going to be the deciding factor, how Freddie uses him.
I reckon he comes off the bench. I reckon he
comes off the bench as well. I reckon just that first 20, you just don't know how it's going to turn out. I reckon they start with Paulo because he's been there, he's done it, he knows the pace of the game. But Freddie did say, it's a gamble, I'm all in. So maybe he's just going, nah, no longer am I holding back of safe this, safe that. He's just going, nah, I'm backing our boys to just be too big, too strong through the middle.
How good.
Oh, yeah. That is the deepest dive ever into an Origin match. We will not be doing that every single Origin match. But obviously, we'll be reviewing this Thursday, guys. So make sure to be ready for that. It'll probably drop 3 p.m. On Thursday. So make sure to be